I hope everyone's having a good day today. I'm Katie Quickstatic, and we're here with Alfred Heroes. Woo! It's been a long break, and we're so glad to be back. I'm going to go ahead and let everyone introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Carl like we always do and go around.
Hi, I'm Carl, and I play Lafcadio Whitehorn, the Tabaxi Warlock.
Hi, I'm Vinny. I play Cael, the cleric.
Irvine. That's it, Irvine.
I'm
Hi,
done.
I'm Casey.
Sorry.
You're good. I am playing your Hobgoblin Azamar, Barbarian Fighter, Champion of Time War and Paleo Plains, Heckler, Big Fire Chicken, she would fight Storm Slayer of Shadows, Nos, the boss of Neverwinter. Hey.
Hey guys, I am John. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I am the Dwarf of Marabar, Master of the Axe, Enemy of the Drought, Traveler of the Plains, Destroyer of Shadow, Deliverer of Certain Death. I am the Wampum Thunderbelly.
Boom.
Hi, everybody. My name is Graham. Or Graham Crackers, as some people call me. Mostly they call me Graham. I play Taslin Evrio, your Shatterkai Necromancer. I think that's it. I don't have fancy titles.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Hey, and who would like to do the recap?
Go, Casey, go!
Now for myself as tribute. Alright, it was a month ago, so I could have forgotten stuff, but here's what I think happened. We're doing this whole quest against Shar thing right now, but there's been a new theme that goes along the lines of we could die like tomorrow every day. So it's become more pressing for some of the characters to get some shit together that they have been meaning to get together since they have launched their adventuring career. Specifically right now, Cael is trying to find his mama, who kind of ran off when he was newborn, and he hadn't heard anything of her since, besides stories from his dad and stuff. So we took a detour to the Feywild, trying to find her, knowing that she's there somewhere. And we got there, and we met this Eladrin, who calls themselves Gust. And he said, well, if you want to talk to someone who controls a court that is more warm-natured towards outsiders, to go see the Shining Princess of the Rose Court. So we went to the Feywild equivalent of the High Forest, wherein there is a Eladrin city called Mithrandane, I believe it was. And it is a huge city, and we stopped to ask the blacksmith first where everything was, and she was like, I don't fucking, what do you, just move into the city, yo. So we did, and then we eventually located some guards and conversed with them, and was like, hey, where's the people to talk to? And they were like, over there, and there were 7 spires that we could choose from, but we eventually figured it out. We Nos actually, I think, was the one to pick up that there amongst the line of guards was this person with a blue tongue, which was weird. So she asked about it, and they revealed themselves to be an archfey and one of the direct members of the Rose Court, under who we're assuming right now to be the Shining Princess. She never actually said that, but she definitely has that air about her. So we get ushered in, and we tell her our plight about how we're trying to find Cael's mom, a full elf named Sariel. And she said that she knew of her and she knew where she was, but she's doing something very important, so it may be tricky to get her away. But they would still help. And so a couple of us were like, well, we understand if that's a problem, so we're willing to attempt to make that easier on you however we can. So they were like, oh, really? There are some skills that are fading from oral tradition, that we wouldn't mind giving a boost to. So if one of y'all are cool with like sticking around for a whole year, we will teach you that skill. And they actually specifically like looked at Lafcadio when they were saying this. He was one of the people that offered to help. And it's the person that is in need is this dwarven dancer who's like in like a belly dancer getup, and she's real slick. And so she is going to potentially take Lafcadio for a year and teach him the art of dance, a specific kind of dance. That's potentially okay. Like, it's not as bad as it sounds, because we went to the Feywild in the first place knowing that it gets all timey-wimey, spacey-wacy there. And so part of the dealings with the Rose Court and the Shining Princess, who we think is the Shining Princess, is that she may be capable of warping time upon our return to the material plane. Not right now, but like in that transition. So she's suggesting, they're all suggesting, that while, yes, Lafcadio will be kept for a year, he will get transported back to us on the material plane at the same time we appear on it as well, because she can shift that, because she's so powerful. And Lafcadio was feeling pretty good about taking her up on it, and so we were kind of, we ended the episode going around talking our feels about the whole situation. Most of us are in the manner of thinking that, you know, it's his life, it's his decision. If he wants to do this, he is welcome to it, but we will miss him, and we are fearful that something will go wrong. And that's, I think, where we left off, right?
Yeah. The only thing I would add is I think that Graham made one too many jokes about Lafcadio being a dancer. She did offer to teach him some of the art of the Fae, and she specified that whatever his particular avenue of like art was, that they could find someone to tutor him thusly. So he's not necessarily going to be a dancer, but if he wants to be a dancer, he can.
Well, I mean, haven't you seen the movie Cats Don't Dance?
No.
It's a good film. I think that's why I was making that reference way back when.
I have seen Oliver and Company, so I do believe cats do dance.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, where we left off specifically was you were all standing in the chamber of the Rose Court and having a conversation about what you're going to do. So I had to go back and watch to make sure, and so I know that to be true. So we'll pick back up right there. You've had a conversation. You've all decided that it's up to Lafcadio, and if he decides to stay, then that's what he's going to do. And the person you believe to be the Shining Princess is still sitting draped across her very like floral-looking carved throne. And she glances over at the one with the blue tongue you had first originally interacted with and says, "Whenever you're ready to take them." And they stand up and look at you. "Are you ready to go?" "To see your person."
Yeah.
"Ah, very well. Then follow me." And they start heading towards the door. Do y'all follow? I'm
I will
assuming.
follow.
Wampum will look at everybody, see if everybody's following.
This isn't to the blue tongue guy. We're not parting ways with Lafcadio here, are we?
I think we're just going to see Cael's mom.
That's what you came here for, correct? And you were looking for someone as well that may be there?
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm following.
You don't all have to go, of course. But if you would like to, you let me know who's coming and I will lead.
I didn't really get an answer just now. Is this where we're parting ways with Lafcadio?
Not unless you would like.
Okay, no, I would not like.
Wampum,
Go ahead.
Wampum downs his mug and slams it on the table and stands up. "All right, let's go."
And they head towards the sort of grand door, and there's two Eladrin guards that are standing there, and they push the doors open for you. You exit from the sort of like central meeting room, and they take you out the front door. And you're once again outside in sort of this large circular like promenade almost type thing with this foliage, and these like almost look like fountains, but instead of water there's like ivy and leaves and things coming out everywhere. And you see there are 7 of these large towers, if you remember, and then in the center of these 7 large towers is a large central structure, probably 10 stories tall, roughly, if you were to gauge it. It's all made, almost looks like it's carved solidly from stone, but more like it's just such fine elven craftsmanship that it's really difficult to see where one stone ends and the other begins. But one thing you all can plainly see is that the architecture looks remarkably human, despite this being a city in the middle of the Feywild and this sort of being like the central structure of that. So, it's very plain, actually. It almost looks like it's defensible, perhaps. Like there are like ramparts at the top that look like they would be battlements, and you can see that there are like slight windows throughout it, but they kind of look more like what would be referred to as murder holes, perhaps. They're not like big, large windows. They're more like slits, like strategically positioned throughout this building. Large pale stone building, and they are quietly leading you over there without saying too much about it. And if nobody has any conversation to be made along the way, then you will come to a remarkably small, actually, set of stone doors that are guarded by 5 Eladrin guards across the front of it. And they'll walk up to the front of them and look around, just gesture. The guards look at each other and part ways, and stand sort of like to the side, 3 on one side and 2 on the other. And they'll wave their hands over the door, and it begins to open towards you. And what you see on the inside is almost a very militaristic scene. There's a long sort of what would be like a foyer that has 3 stone doors on either side of it. Very plain, some sconces on the wall. Again, it really reminds you of what might look like a human-built fort, interestingly enough. And if you pass through the 100 or so feet of this hallway with these stone doors, then it opens up into a large circular structure. And you can tell after you've passed through that the stones in these walls are made to be, there are doors, so you know that there are at least some chambers within, but there aren't doors all around it. So it's very likely that there are sections of this wall that are 100 or so feet thick, maybe 20 or 30, even the places that have the chambers in between. Just a really large, hardy sort of structure. And now the inside is beautiful, you could say, although it looks very militaristic, and there are guards lined everywhere. There are some making patrols. They're in sets of 5 again, but there are some that are just literally standing still, almost like Buckingham Palace style, around another cylindrical structure, probably only about 50 feet tall, that sits right in the middle of the sort of like large outer structure. There's ivy climbing on the walls. There are trees in here with some interesting fruit on it that looks bluish and maybe a little bit of a twinge of pink on the bottom of them. And there are bushes with flowers on them. There's some roses and some daisies and other things. So there's still that sort of elven touch, which is very natural and down to earth. And the guards are actually in mixed colored gear. Some of them have more white tones. Some of them have more of like a pink sort of corally outfit. Some are blue. It looks like they might, and the colors are all usually together, so they might belong to different houses or different like sections of guards or something like that. The style is still very similar. It's just that they have different sort of like color coding to them, but no discernible like insignias or anything like that. And there are 7 pathways that lead out to 7 large stone doors from this central structure, with another sort of smaller than you might have guessed set of stone doors on the inside. And as this entity leads you through to the middle structure, they stop and they turn around and they say, "Now, none of you are ever to speak about what you see in here, except amongst each other, because you'll have all seen it. That is fine. But not to any other being, or we will know, and we'll find you. So have your word?"
Aye.
What's back there?
Something very secret and very dangerous. And they stop and they look around. And there are some, there's a small contingency of these guards passing by. And they wait for them to pass. Not even they know what's in here. Whatever you said just then, John, you were muted.
Oh, what did I supposedly see?
We haven't seen it yet.
That's
It's
what I'm
behind these
saying.
doors. What'd you say?
That's what I'm saying. I didn't see nothing.
Ah, good attitude. I've heard 2 eyes. 3 more?
Tazlin's kind of standing there, just like weighing the options, like, yes, I will not tell anyone outside of this company.
You bet. Secret safe with me.
Sure.
That didn't sound very convincing.
I can't change your perception of the way that I speak.
That's him normal. It's true.
Very well.
That is very true.
They turn around again and they wave their hand over the door, and nothing happens for just a moment. And then if you've ever seen, in movies, how a really old door that hasn't been opened in a long time sort of creaks to open and dust and stuff kind of falls on the outside, that happens, and there's this smattering of dust and dirt that comes down, and these almost seamless, you know that there's a door there because you could see the outline of it, but it fits so snugly inside that it barely is revealed as it opens. And it's sort of bits and smatterings of things kind of come down, and what you see on the inside is most of the interior of this cylindrical structure. The bottom is this solid metal panel of some kind. There are runes, designs, arcane insignias, and symbols etched all over it. And the 7 paths that you see from the outside come and touch the edges, or might go under the edges of this large cylindrical structure. Is similarly natural for the remaining 10 feet or so, or 5 feet radius around the outside. It takes up about 40 feet of the 50-foot diameter. And there are slight ivy and grass and a few wildflowers sort of growing up in the middle, but they look similar to the ones on the other side of the barrier, but they almost look slightly withered. Perhaps from lack of sunlight or something like that, since this does have a roof. And you see inside there are about 15 people seated in a circle, sort of cross-legged, eyes closed. They're not holding hands, but their hands are sort of resting on their knees. They're very close to each other. And Tazlin, you immediately notice amongst the about 10 or so figures that are standing on the outside, almost directly across from the opening is Raziel, standing there watching these in the center. And Cael, you notice that on the far right side of those seated in this circle with their eyes closed is somebody that you've seen before in a mirror, wearing plain earthen-toned clothing, some light, almost leatherish armor, long hair falling down their back, eyes closed. Not necessarily serenely, but closed, lips slightly pursed, perhaps in concentration or in effort, sitting quietly.
I'm sorry, did you say someone I've seen in a mirror?
Wasn't it in a mirror that you had seen?
When we had originally
Oh,
scried
yeah,
our way back.
no, okay, yeah. I thought it was like a clone of me or something.
No. There was a mirror, and that was supposed to be a clever way of saying,
No, it was good,
remember
yeah.
that time you saw your mother in that mirror? I researched.
Yeah, you did, and I dropped the ball all the way down that one.
It's okay. It's okay.
My bad.
It's been a long time. And the figure enters and stands to the side, waiting for all of you to come in. And if you all come in, the door is closed. Do you all come into the central chamber?
Yeah.
They wave their hand, and the door is closed. And as the door is closed, you see, almost like puffs, but it looks like arcane energy kind of like crackling around the edges of the doors, and then these large metallic bars come sliding out of the walls and cover the doors.
So, Katie, you said there were like arcane runes and glyphs around the floor. Could I make a Arcana check to kind of see if I recognize any of them, or could get any idea of what they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
First,
it's always roll 20 that I forget.
I know.
Everything open but roll 20. Just gonna do that really quick.
That is a 24.
Ah, nice. So, these catch your eye. Makes sense. Not only as a wizard, but Taslim is a curious individual themselves. And as you start to read around the outside, you can tell that it starts on the outside and it's kind of like swirling in towards the center. It looks like this was the work of several people at that high of an Arcana check. You can see, like, ruins are pretty straightforward, but there's still a bit of handwriting to somebody hand carving or hand creating these as symbols. And so it looks like there's a handiwork here of at least more than one, two or more even maybe individuals. You see symbols that are affiliated with protections, with wards, with binding, with sealing, with like separation, with longevity. It looks like this. And only because of how studied you are, do you see a lot of these things, because these are old. These are unimaginably old. Some of the symbols even have slowly changed over time, sort of as like almost like language might change, script might change. And you can see some archaic symbols that you've come across only once or twice in your studies as like older forms of new spells, new rituals and things like that. And it becomes immediately apparent to you that this is ancient, even for the Feywild, ancient in terms of time. And that whatever it is this is intended to do is definitely a separation, a seal, a barrier of some kind.
Thank you. Taslim will give a little wave to Raziel. Is she sitting down, or I think you said she was standing?
Standing, and actually each of the people standing around the outside have their weapons drawn. They don't look like they're ready to attack anything in particular, but it's more like a ready stance. So let me, 1 second here. She does, go ahead.
Wampa will walk up next to Taslim as he's looking at these runes. Wampum will run his hand down the corner of the door. If I didn't know where me be standing, I say this is ancient dwarven work, but it can't be.
To be honest, I don't even know how ancient this is. It's far older than I am, and it's old. If I was to guess, probably from when the Feywild was first created. Some aspect of this existed.
Ancient. Go ahead.
I'd like to look over at Cael and see how he's doing physically. He's like sweating bullets. What's going on there?
Chewing on his nails.
Yeah.
And Raziel does notice you, Taslin, and kind of like gives a slight wave.
I don't know. I was hung up on something else. What could I get? Just like a really basic description of this room again? Like it's like a big circle, or something like.
So it's a cylindrical structure. The walls have no windows. There seems to be one door that you can tell in and out. There is a roof. The walls, just after passing through the doors, seem to be roughly 4 feet thick in stone. There's about a 5 foot like stretch around the edge of the walls that is round, natural. You see a little bit of path and some grass and ivy and flowers and shrubbery type stuff. And then 40 feet of the 50-foot diameter is taken up by this large metallic slab. There are about 15 people seated in a circle, sort of like towards the center of this large metallic slab. And there are about 10 people seemingly like standing guard over them or watching over them, kind of like around the outskirts.
Okay. So I think the first thing Cael will do is ask our, guide, what is this place?
Make a persuasion roll.
Sure. It's my best skill thing. $12.
The person looks over at you and there's a barrier.
Between what?
Between here and the darkness that lies underneath.
So what, this is it's like a way station on the way to the Shadowfell, or?
There may be such things under there. That is not the primary concern. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. And then he'll look around for where was the lady again he was looking for?
From the way you enter on the circle, she's kind of basically on like the rightmost point of the circle.
Like of the inner circle or the people on guard?
Inner circle, sitting with their eyes closed.
Okay. And they're all sitting there with their eyes closed, like the same way?
Mm-hmm. They're all dressed very similarly. You see staves on most of their backs. They've got sort of like this plain natural colored clothing on, lightly armored. Being as familiar as you are with divine magic, it would be very easy to tell, especially just with the general like aura in the room, that most of these seem to be druids, and they are probably tuning into something in the earth. I believe clerics get the commune spell as well, right?
I know I had it. I probably.
Yeah. So it's like, as you're watching, I was like, I'm pretty sure you even know what this like sort of thing that they would be doing is, and that seems to be the sort of like concentration that's going on at this moment.
So he'll see that going on, and then kind of like lean back towards the guide again and be like, so should we wait, or what's
Wait a moment.
Okay.
We'll see if they finish, or if they are going to finish.
Have they been at this long?
Quite some time now. Maybe not this exact activity, but they've been in here for a while.
When you say a while, what is that? What is that to you?
Speaking of time to creatures such as yourselves is always a bit odd. It's been not terribly long.
All right. Just I don't know. He'll shrug as much as somebody can shrug without actually shrugging, and then just stand there.
So we all stand there for several moments. A few minutes pass, and they sort of watch. They're sort of like kind of walking back and forth a little bit. The blue-tongued person. He's kind of keeping an eye on everything that's going on.
Can
And
I,
after, go ahead. Yeah.
while we're waiting, can I unintrusively kind of slink up to the circle and give that whole area a sniff?
Sure.
I'm looking for smells like rot or brimstone or the kinds of things that are in existence in the lower planes.
Okay. Sure.
I'll take a 15 on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset my Roll20 password. I forgot because Firefox crashed on me. So y'all just gonna have to tell me what you roll, and I'll get into it after the break. So you take a sniff around, and there are earthy smells. Primarily, you are really trying to hone in on focus and on something specific, and it's really difficult to smell anything other than what you could smell sort of at the doorway. Just Taslin has mentioned a few things out loud, so it's difficult to say whether this is like preventing you from smelling anything under it, or if this place is so old that the sort of like exterior has taken on a life of its own and you can't really like get through to what's under there. You also don't know how thick this barrier might be, but there doesn't seem to be any aroma that's different towards the center, except there's a slightly more of like a metallic twinge to it than there was when you were right back at the door when you weren't as close to it.
If it doesn't make me gag, I'm contented. So
No gagging.
yeah.
And Katie, quick question. It's been a while. When we did a history check on Mithrin Dane, had you mentioned like Fomorians at some point?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Nope.
I couldn't remember.
Okay. I was like, Fomorians? No? Did I say that? No, I don't think so. No, I shouldn't have if I did.
Yeah,
No.
no. I was just like, huh.
Okay. I'm like, you know something I don't know clearly.
No, I just couldn't remember. It's been so long.
Okay. Yeah, no mention of Fomorians, and
Perfect.
at all. I'm like, I don't know if I read that far ahead, but I don't think there were any Fomorians involved. Anyway, so several minutes pass. You all have time to kind of like take a look around, make any inspections that you would like to, deduce anything you would like to do, and if you're all satisfied with what you can currently sort of like glean from the situation, then after what feels like probably 5 or 10 minutes, this blue-tongued individual, he's been kind of like pacing back and forth and watching them, and he finally and he goes kind of like walking over to the side, and he stops by one next to who you're looking at, Cael, and he looks back at you like, this one? He takes a step over to the next one, which is the woman you're looking for, and he looks back at you, this one? He doesn't say that, he's just kind of pointing. He reaches down and touches her on the shoulder, and she... And as she looks up confused, she looks over at the door, and her eyes go a little wide. He gestures for her to follow. She stands up, follows him back over towards the door, and stands there looking.
At me or the door? What?
At you,
Okay.
because you're all by the door.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are you cereal?
You're here.
Yeah, we're all here.
We should go outside. And she looks over at the blue-tongued individual who waves her hand at the door, and the bars slide across, and there's another sort of like puff of energy from this side as the doors swing. And she exits.
Yeah.
Rather briskly, actually.
Taslin's gonna give them some space, and he's gonna like slink his way around to like. Is there a wall near Raziel? Is she posted near a wall?
Yeah, she was like along the perimeter, sort of like standing on the edge of the grass in this metallic slab, sort of like on the back end of things.
Yeah, he'll slink along all the way around the perimeter to her and like just lean on the wall and like give Cael his privacy.
When she sees you coming, she actually takes a step out and looks to the left and the right of the people of either side of her, and they nod, and she comes over to meet you. What are you all doing here?
Oh, well, if you want to know that, you should just be very quiet and listen to what they're saying. It's going to be very interesting, I think.
Well, let's go. And you actually notice that she's got a little bit more of like an autumn aura to her at the moment. She was summery last time you saw her, but she's kind of more this like red and golden sort of autumn lantern look.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll follow you outside.
Yeah.
So the blue-tongued individual will lead you all outside. I imagine that Taslin and Raziel are the last two out at that point. Is anyone wanting to stay inside, or are you all going to exit?
Wampum will wait for everybody to exit, and then he'll just nod with respect to the inner part of the room, and then he'll exit.
Okay.
What they're doing in the circle, or what Serial was doing in the circle, did they continue doing it after she left, or after she stood up?
No one else moved. They didn't even acknowledge her leaving.
So they're still engaged in whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to get the attention of the person who let us in before they left. Say, can I help? I know that what she was doing was important. Is it something that I can pitch in so progress isn't lost or anything like that?
Can you speak to the earth?
I certainly can. Whether or not it understands me, I cannot say.
If you would like to take her place, you may.
All right, I'll give that a shot, and I'll just because I know that I'm going to be staying here for a while, so I just want to be, trying to be helpful and fit in. So I will just pick the spot that she left and try my best to do what everyone else is doing. And if nothing's happening, I'll start talking to the earth. Like, hello there. Nice to meet you.
Are you going to say it out loud or in your head?
Out loud.
Okay. So you sit down, and when you sit down, go ahead. We'll come back to you in just a second, but go ahead and make I would say either nature, maybe survival, or like Arcana check, whichever you think would be more the sort of path you would try to take to trying to tune into your surroundings.
I will use my DM's inspiration and roll nature with advantage.
Okay.
And that is 12.
Ooh. Okay. All right. So as everyone but Lefcadio exits Wampum, if Lefcadio stays behind, do you want to go ahead and come outside, or do you want to stay inside with Lefcadio?
I'll wait for a couple seconds and look at Lefcadio, see if I can make eye contact with him, and then I'll motion like I'm exiting to see if I have his approval to exit. And then I'll exit.
Okay. After everyone leaves, your guide waves her hand again. The doors slide back closed. You don't see the energy from this side, interestingly, but you're close enough to the door now that the sort of like grinding of stone is heard, but you can also tell the crossing of the sort of bars from the interior as well. And they kind of like take a few paces away and like lean against a wall, like watching to see what happens because, why not? And so Sariel has taken probably 5 to 7 feet worth of steps away from the building and he's turned around to face you, Cael.
It seems like you recognize me.
Of course.
Okay. And Cael will look around and see that everybody's like out there and be like, I was hoping we wouldn't really have an audience for this part. Could we like go?
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody, not to sit here. Move back. Move back.
No, we will. I mean, just okay.
Take out my glaive and use the staff to like start just pushing people.
Raziel's just gonna follow you, Taslin. She's kind of like laughing quietly under her breath, like, okay.
Taslin's gonna try and hide so he can eavesdrop.
Okay. Where do you want to hide? There are some
like around the corner.
Okay.
I don't think he's even that sneaky. I think he's probably like, oh, I can't hear you over all the smooching I'm going to be doing. Like, just like walking away.
Can I
love it.
Can I throw Taslin a stink eye?
Oh, of course. You do whatever you
approach on this.
I'll pretend I didn't see that while my back is turned. No. Yeah, Taslin just goes around the corner.
Okay. It is a cylinder, so you'll go around the perimeter a bit.
Yeah.
No corners, though. Yeah. So everyone kind of disperses a bit, however far away they would like to go, or however far away Nos would like them to go, most likely.
At least 30 feet away from everything that's happening there.
Okay. So, other than like periodic, like sort of contingencies, is contingency the right word? Little groupings of guards, whatever. I don't know the proper word for that probably, but they'll pass by periodically, but they look like they're paying you absolutely no mind.
Okay. What was going on in there?
I'm not certain how to explain it really. Refreshing, searching, asking. The barrier. Did they tell you what it's for?
Nope. Well, kind of, but not really.
It keeps this place safe.
From what?
The darkness underneath. Mostly the Underdark. It's a portal. Or it was.
That's you were holding it down back there?
Magic seems to be weakening. It's been here. I'm not certain anyone even actually knows how long.
Do you know how long you've been here?
Years.
Is it a guess?
Spent a lot of time communing. It's hard to say exactly. It's not as if the sun rises and sets, and if it did, I wouldn't see it. But it's been years. Maybe 5?
So, you know who I am. No secret there. Do I have any other siblings?
No.
No. What? This might sound weird. Why do I exist?
If you're looking for meaning in existence, I think you make that on your own.
No, I mean, like, why did you let me exist?
I thought I could bring you here and that you would be safe and be able to enjoy the wonders of a place like this. Child of two worlds doesn't often have that opportunity, but it's a dangerous place here.
It's dangerous everywhere. Why didn't you do that?
There's a brook here, a court, who hunts for sport. And they seek out creatures not of the Fae to hunt for sport. I was worried. I was among them for a time, and I changed my mind. I was afraid that they would seek revenge of some kind, or think it a game to hunt down something that mattered to me. Do you remember anything from your childhood? Anything at all?
I'm not sure if it's a memory or a dream, but there's an image of a forest, and there's a caterpillar on a tree, and someone, I assume it was you, handed me a berry. That's pretty much it. That's all I got.
You are why I left that court. I hadn't really considered the lives of other creatures as important until I was summoned and aided on the other plane and encountered creatures whom I cared for. And then you came along, and I left. And that was one of the last days that I saw you. We were in the forest, enjoying a found meal, and then I saw them coming for us. I thought if I could hide you, you would be safe.
Well, it worked out. I'm still alive, for now. Why? You never came back. Why didn't you ever come back?
They sometimes ventured to the material plane to capture creatures to hunt. I was afraid if I came and made any kind of contact that they would see it and come find you. Although now I can see that you likely can take care of yourself.
My God takes care of me more than I do myself. Is that all the things that you and Cedric wouldn't or couldn't do for me, Denier has done. And that's been working out pretty great for the last couple of years, but in the intervening time before all that, there was nothing. I mean, I had friends, sure, and father did the best he could, I think, under the circumstances, but it's just, from what you've said, it sounds like my entire existence has been as a burden until very recently. That's unfortunate.
You're not a burden.
Oh no, how could I be when you just dropped me off and left and never showed back up? Look, I wanted to ask you one or two questions, maybe. I don't know how I want to word this. Knowing what you know now, and having lived the life you lived, where you had this relationship that was so fleeting, and knowing and seeing now what came out of it, how does that make you feel?
I feel like you are very strong and very intelligent and wise and angry, rightfully so. And I don't know if every decision made was the right one, but I feel like you are perfect, exactly as you should be. Maybe in spite of us, instead of because of us. But I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine making any different decision.
So you're okay with the choices you've made?
I thought they were for the best. I don't know how else to explain. I was afraid that you would be captured and raised as an animal to be hunted for sport by very powerful creatures. And maybe if I had been there, I could have protected you, but maybe if I'd been there, they would have found you. I can't be okay with everything I've done, but I can accept that the product of those decisions led to who you are. I've seen some of the things you've done. I've watched.
You watched?
Fey magics.
Okay. So you don't really regret that, you know, that I exist. I don't regret that I am the way that I am, or anything like that, right? Maybe you feel regretful about some of the decisions you've made and the way that that's impacted others, but it all turned out fine in your eyes.
I wish I'd never been a member of that court. That I hadn't been raised in it. I wish that bestial side of me had never existed. And that once called upon traveling to the material plane and finding myself in a situation where I returned with you, I could have walked the forest with you and taught you about the golden berries and the pixies and enjoying the forest at night and how to find the sprites in the mist, but I couldn't.
But you couldn't.
I didn't think that I could.
No, I mean, that's, if you didn't think so, you probably couldn't. I don't know, I don't know about that. If given the opportunity, would you do it again?
If I could go back with the knowledge of everything that's transpired, I'm not sure. Hindsight is a gift none have when making decisions.
Some people have foresight, though. I mean, you could maybe get something out of that.
Futures are hard to read. When you read a future, you read one future, one possible future, and every little decision that a person makes can change the one future you see.
And how did you feel about Cedric? About my father? He's dead, by the way. I don't know. You seem to know a bunch of things, but he lived a happy life. He got remarried, died peacefully, and all that. But does that matter to you, really? Do you think of him ever? Do you have fond memories? Do you regret or feel good about, having been with him?
I'm glad he lived well. What he meant to me was only what he gave me in the end, which was you. I doubt he felt very much either. It was a brief time together.
Well, brief for you is a little bit different than brief for human. But I guess that maybe that is a difficult concept for you people to understand based on the way that we've been treated since we got here. But that's irrelevant to this conversation. This has been informative, and do you need something from me? Do you want to ask me any questions about anything?
Is there anything that I can say to make you feel at peace, or anything I can do? I can see that you've come here in looking for answers, and I don't know that I have what you're looking for. I never regretted you for a moment.
No, not me. But Cedric, you just kind of, just whatever with that guy.
He didn't want to come to the Feywild.
Okay. No, I think if you had any wisdom to impart onto me, or could say or do anything to make me feel better, then it would have come through at this point. Maybe it did, and I just need time to find it. So I'm good. I'd like to just walk away now, if that's okay with you. You seem very busy in there doing whatever you were doing.
It's important, but I think you found a better family than we could have given you. And she kind of like looks around at everyone kind of scattered around and like watching from a distance, or perhaps pretending not to watch, or trying to avert their eyes, or what have you.
But we'll never know now, will we? Look, I'm sure you'll outlive all of us by the scale of centuries, probably. And I can't imagine what it's like to have to think and feel things on that sort of scale. I'm sure you'll be fine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave now. And he just like starts going away from there.
She's just going to kind of stand and watch as Cael starts to walk away. And are you going to make it all the way to the doors to the outside?
Yeah.
They don't open when you first arrive. And if you look back, or anyone else who's watching, you'll see that she gestures to somebody to go open the door for him. And you'll be able to leave. What are you all going to do when you see him start to leave?
I absolutely make a mad dash to follow him.
I figured.
Taslin's not gonna rush. He's gonna stay where he is.
Wampum again will wait till everybody passes, and then I'll look back at her and just give a shoulder nod and turn around and follow everybody out.
So you're going to stay behind Taslin? Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll see she'll turn around and she'll head back towards the central structure, and the doors will open.
Before she walks inside, Taslin will call out, I think the only thing he wanted to hear was that you love him. And then Taslin is just going to go back to talking to Razu.
She looked like she was going to say something, and then as you turn away, she puts her head down and walks to the door. Lefcadio, you were in there. You sat down on this surprisingly warm metal slab. Tried to reach out to the earth, tune yourself into it, feed off of what everyone's doing. not hearing anything? You're not really sure if you're supposed to hear anything?
That looks painful, bud.
What do you say? You said you started talking. What do you say to try to speak to the other?
Well, I probably wouldn't continue doing it without responses, but there would have been I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I hope you're hearing me. If you did hear me, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say even, but they said talk to the earth, and that's what I'm doing. And I open my eyes and I look around and see if anyone's looking at me, and then I just keep talking. If you're not going to respond, it's cool. I can listen. I'm a good listener, I've been told. And then that's probably where I'll stop.
So it remains quiet inside. You kind of give up on that. You sit there for a while, not terribly long, and you hear the door starting to open again. And if you look, you'll see that the woman that you replaced begins to walk through the doors. Are you going to open your eyes, or are your eyes still closed?
No, yeah. As soon as I hear the door, I'll open it up, and I'll see if she's coming to relieve me. I will stand up and give her back her spot. Mm-hmm. And I'll pat on it. I'll say, "Kept it warm for you."
Thank you. And once you move, she's just going to kind of take her seat back there and put her head down.
And I'll ask, did everything go all right?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Are you friends?
Yeah, we're all mates.
I don't know what he was looking for. I thought an explanation would help. I don't think it did. It can't justify anything. I wouldn't want to. Did what I thought I was best, and if it wasn't, then it wasn't. I have learned over time that the way a creature feels is up to them. And not said dismissively, I can't ask someone not to be angry. I have every right to be angry. And I don't ask for forgiveness. I deserve what I deserve. And he'll decide that. Whatever it is that I deserve.
Well, I know my mate, Cael. He's quite the reasonable fella, and as long as you had a reason for it, I'm sure he'll see that reason, or at least he can see the reasoning for it. By the look on your face, it probably didn't feel like that right now, but if you had a reason for it, I'm sure he can see it. And I'm just glad that he got to see you. We're going off to do something quite dangerous, and I think maybe he was worried he wouldn't get to see you before we went and did that. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to chat.
Where are you going from here?
after I complete my work here in the Feywild, I reckon we'll be heading to the Shadowfell. At least that seems to be where the confrontation is leading us. I don't know how familiar you are with the divines and whatnot, but one of them, the one they call Shah, she is trying to consume or usurp the powers from the current Queen of the Shadowfell, the Raven Queen. So it's our understanding that we need to stop that, or else terrible things will happen. So that's what we're up to. And your son, he's quite important in this work. In that we're fighting the forces of darkness. He is in fact, the light that we all rely on. So he's a good egg, that one.
In spite of everything. I think your mission explains a lot about what we've learned here.
How's that?
It would be complicated to explain. She reaches into a pouch on her side and she pulls out 3 seeds. And she reaches her hand out to you. She'll put them in your hand and close your hand. If someone becomes ill, plant these, 1 for each person. She's gonna sit back down and close her eyes and take the position that she was in when you first saw her.
All right, then. I'll leave you to it. And I'll put the seeds in my pocket. And I'll see myself out.
Okay. When you exit, the blue-tongued individual sees you come out, and the doors close behind you. You hear the grating of stone, the sliding of these metal bars, and you are standing outside with Wampum, Taslin, and Raziel. And so, Nas and Cael, let's move to you guys. So Cael makes it outside of the doors, and you say you take a beeline after him.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just match pace next to him, and I will remain silent, knowing that if he wants to talk, he will talk.
Well, we don't have our guide anymore, but I guess Cael will probably remember how they got there.
It's just a straight walk out. You're back in that sort of promenade-esque type area.
Definitely remember. He's super smart. He can remember a straight line. Straight-ish. Yeah, he'll walk for a minute, and then he'll realize he'll kind of stop and look around and realize nobody else is around except Nos, I guess. And then just stop. Just be like, where's everybody?
I think they're attempting to give you some space.
I'm got all the space I need. We can. I would like to not be here anymore. I think that would be great.
I have no idea what happened, but even having no idea what happened, I know that was a heavy situation. Usually, most people, sane people, need a moment to process something of that magnitude. Maybe it is not the best idea for Wampum and Taslin to have a back and forth right behind you at this moment. You know?
Sure. Yeah. I'm not comfortable here. I'm just kind of looking around at all this grand architecture and the plants and all the crap he hates right now. No, I don't. Not exactly, but yeah, it's just I don't want to be here.
So it didn't go well.
I don't know yet. Right. I need time to process it. First impression, no, not great. I was looking for some answers and she didn't have them. And I know why I thought she would, but it's silly logic looking at it now.
I don't think it's necessarily silly to have some kind of hope, but I understand how having hope in the first place can set you up for, I don't know, unmanaged expectations. Something I don't know what happened, but I can see what you're saying.
I don't know if you'll ever know specifically, but I don't know. I'm not ready to talk about it right now, right this minute. Just want to be somewhere else. I just want to be somewhere else. And he'll thaumaturgy like really loud. He'll be like, "Hey, we're leaving."
You all hear Cael yell, "We're leaving!"
The next step is to say bye-bye to Lafcadio and return. Potentially another heavy thing.
I really hate that he has to.
Yeah, me too. It may not be paying for anything. It may not be a negative thing at all. Maybe. What were you gonna say?
It doesn't have to go through with it. If we all just gathered up, I can just take us back, but then we wouldn't get we would be leaving it up to chance as to whether or not we've been here for too long.
Well, it's his decision.
It is, but it's not one he should have to make.
Like, as in, someone else should make it for him?
Just, it never should have been his responsibility. This was my trip. This was my detour. This was my problem. I should have been the one. I should have been the one paying for him. But I guess I am in a way. But more Lafcadio is.
And if you all came when he called you, then you'd all be like exiting the exterior doors about this time.
Taslin wouldn't be in any rush.
Yeah.
I think Taslin had things to say to Raziel, so I don't think he would leave at Cael's call until he kind of settled that up.
Okay. When everyone else starts to leave, the blue-tongued individual looks back at you and is kind of like, to go out the main doors.
Okay. I will mosey on.
Okay. And once you all cross through that sort of threshold, the doors close behind you, and they just walk back over to the spire that you'd all been in before, but he doesn't gesture you on any further at that point. Do you want to talk to Raziel, you said?
Yeah. So, I know that sending isn't the greatest way to get in touch with someone, or to convey anything, really, in 25 words or less. But I wanted to fill you in on what's going on. We have discovered that Shar is stealing the divinity from places of worship, altars of gods, any place that holds any meaning to them, to make a bid on the Shadowfell. And I'm not sure if my companions have recognized that she definitely knows who we are, And she most definitely knows who we love and care about. And that, you know how mortals are. They're not afraid until it's too late to be afraid. And I was worried about you. I know that you are capable, but I'm bound by a god, and I know what they are capable of. She was able to convince a dragon to her side. I have no doubt she has worse things. And I don't know what to say. I don't...
Oh, no. That sounds really not great. Did they tell you anything about in there? What all that is?
Not really. I'm going to assume it's... Well, I mean, I know that it's a blockade of magical energy to keep something out or keep something away.
Yes. It's been there for a long time. Portal to Underdark. Lots of nasty stuff tries to come through, or did before it was created. It's been weakening. There's been some darkness. They're currently concentrating on keeping those wards in place. If you tried to contact me recently, it's not going to work in there.
I figured.
This explains a lot. I have to stay there to make sure there's someone to keep an eye on things.
I understand.
You're going to go challenge the god?
That seems to be the plan.
You have to come back.
I'll try.
I'll do more than try.
Of course. And, well, I doubt we'll have to worry about it if I fail, so... But I will do everything I can to come back.
She throws her arms around you, gives you a really tight squeeze. I think that explains what's been going on here, so I'm sorry. I feel like I need to stay and watch.
I couldn't imagine them putting a better person in charge of watching this place.
Well, I'm not in charge, but I could be.
Oh, no, most definitely. But I think I hear our companion calling. I take it didn't go well. I mean, we were listening, but so I know it didn't go well, but...
Maybe in time. Maybe not.
Maybe not. So is life, I suppose.
I would go with you, but I think, like you said, it would be used against us.
It's perfectly fine. I simply just wanted to check in with you.
Be safe.
You as well. And Tazin will walk away like a cool dude.
And she'll like linger around the doors for a little bit and watch you all kind of like converge before going back inside. The doors open and close behind her. You're all together.
Right. So did real quick, Cael, before you guys leave, like I trust everything's going to go according to plan, and after you all leave, it'll just be a second or two before I'm right behind you. But in the event that it doesn't, I got these from the folks inside. The naturey folks. They gave me these seeds. That says, if anyone gets sick, you should plant one of these for each person who gets sick. And I guess they feel like whatever's going on in there is related to the work that we're engaged in ourselves. So I guess they suspect that there will be some sort of sickness. Again, like I said, I'm sure everything's going to go according to plan, but on the off chance that it doesn't, here, you're probably best to hang on to these.
All right, Cael will take them. That's weird, but sure.
On the note of stuff, Lafcadio, don't forget you have a blessing from Timora.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, but I'll keep that one safe right here.
Lafcadio, we don't have to take that risk. We could all just leave right now. I can take us back.
Well, then everything's a risk, mate. Because if we do that, then there's a chance that, it'll be, years have passed on the material plane or wherever danger lurks. And
Could have been seconds.
It could have been seconds, right? There's a chance either way. But this way, if they uphold their end of the bargain and I'm able to learn or do whatever they need me to do, then it's a sure thing that we won't have lost any time.
It's really never a sure thing with Archfey or Fey in general. I just want you to know that you have other options.
I appreciate that. I feel like in my gut this is the least risky and the most promising, the greatest risk reward calculation.
All right.
Whoa. What am I missing? You talking like you're staying?
Oh, right. You just a reminder, because you were totally there, but it might have just slipped your mind. Moments ago, when we were, in that, among all them Elvie folks, there you might have caught that one really fetching dwarf who was very light on her feet, who came in.
Aye.
She, in exchange for me sticking around and learning at her feet, and the other folks around here, the powerful Fey folk will ensure that when I travel back to the Feywild, or travel back from the Feywild, no time will have passed, or very little time will have passed. I'm sure the details are important, but I didn't get them. If I can stick around, it'll ensure that we won't be coming back to the material plane after terrible things have happened.
I'm not liking this plan.
It's too late. I already agreed to it.
I kind of agree with Cael. We can all leave.
I think it's Lafcadio's decision whether he decides to stay or leave prematurely.
Yeah.
Of course, it's his decision. But we have to go on this mission without him.
It'll only be seconds. He'll be arriving. We'll cross over the portal, and then he'll poof a minute later. as if very little time has passed, is how they explained it.
You really believe this?
I don't see a reason for them to lie when there are issues within. I look around to make sure there's no people that haven't been in there. When there are issues with this place are linked to us solving our own, it's in their best interest to make sure that it happens as agreed.
Also, I've already thought about it. Backup plans for backup plans for backup plans. We can come and rescue him if things don't go right.
That is also true.
Okay. I just interjecting that I'm not liking.
Yeah, same for everybody. We don't like the concept at all of us. But it's A, not our decision. B, Lucadio might be right that it might be a good thing. I think it was mentioned before as well that in the fight against the shadows and the goddess of loss, that it might be a good idea to collect some skills from something that is completely opposite.
Indeed, and this gives him a year to prepare for us going to the Shadowfell. That means he can look into ways to circumvent illnesses, ailments. He can learn about some of the denizens there.
But your feels are real,
year that happens in a few seconds.
And we get your side of it because we feel it too.
Wampum looks very confused.
The only downside is if that portal fails within the year, and, well, I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, so I guess I'll see you in a few seconds.
I'll put out my paw and, do the forearm shake.
Aye. Okay.
Well, we gotta, probably have to talk to somebody about, because they have to teleport us, back, do the time stuff, so. This is nice, it's a little premature, I think.
I'm gonna start walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll follow.
And where are you heading?
Back to the spire that we know that the Shining Princess, the person that we believe is the Shining Princess, is located within.
Okay. So you head back that direction. It's one of the 7 spires surrounding the central citadel sort of thing, and the promenade, easy enough to make your way back. The guards that are standing at the front seem to recognize you as you approach, and when you are within appropriate distance, they will open the doors for you. You'll see that there are fewer people milling about outside in the sort of like foyer sort of area. There's just a handful really kind of chatting, and they barely even notice your presence as you walk in. The second larger, sort of grander set of doors is opened for you, and you enter back into the court where you see the woman is still seated at her like sort of throne-esque type structure. The blue-tongued individual is standing to what you would see as the left. The dwarven woman is standing sort of to the right, and they're having a conversation as the doors open and you walk in. And they all stop and kind of like look in your direction as you all enter.
I'm going to kind of tug on Lefkadio's coat sleeve and pull him back and give him a really big hug and a kiss on the cheek and a scritch behind the ear. And I was like, you take care of yourself, Slim. And if you need help, you've got the stone. Talk to us.
You got it, Red.
And as this is going on, the woman seated goes, might be a bit premature for goodbyes. There's something we must do first. And I think this is a good time to take a break. We'll come back in 10 minutes or so, or however long we usually take, 5 minutes. I don't remember.
There's going to be a timer.
Yeah. And we'll find out what's going to happen now.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye. We'll see you in a little bit. And thanks for waiting on the break. And thanks for the raid from Grant. We appreciate you. Did we do a shout out for Grant? Maybe we should do it now that we're live again. Does anybody have a shout out command for this channel?
Do we have it? I don't know. I don't think we do.
I don't think I'm a mod here, so I have no power here. But thank you. We appreciate that. We're sorry that we had just gone to break. Bad timing. Anyway, so jumping back in, you have entered the court, and she has indicated that perhaps goodbye. It's not quite yet the time for goodbyes.
I've never claimed to be a smooth person.
No, it's fine. See, yes, no, come with us. And this is the first time you've seen her actually stand up. So she'll stand up in this long train that she has. It looks like it has like actual flowers growing out of the back of the dress. She kind of moves to the side and steps out. You notice she's barefoot. And as she sort of rises, the train drags along behind her, and you can see it kind of like shimmer in the light as she moves. And she arcs around behind the throne sort of thing that she was seated on, and approaches a door that just like really plain sort of looking door that's behind there. And she's going to open it, and she'll enter and turn around and kind of wave you all in. Okay. The blue-toned individual takes a seat out here, doesn't seem interested in going in, but the dwarven woman is going to enter in after her, and you can all file in as you make your way across the sort of grand room here. And she closes the door behind you, and what you see looks like a painter's studio. There are walls and walls of jars of pigmented solution inside. There are canvases everywhere, absolutely ethereally gorgeous paintings, obviously like landscapes in the Feywild. Some are of individuals. It almost looks like the paintings can move. If you're looking at, there's one on the far wall. This isn't a too large of a room. It's probably about 30 feet wide and about 40 feet long. So it's a little cramped with all the supplies in here. There's just like blank canvases, sort of like lined against one wall. And there is one large one that is blank, actually, on sort of like this back wall opposite the door that you came in. But off to the side is this really large landscaped portrait. It looks like if someone were standing at the top of that sort of like citadel and looking out and painting the city and the trees in the distance. It shows all of the pathways through the city and the individual buildings, and it goes out to the edge, and you can see the sort of like gap between the tree line. And if you look at it, you can almost see the trees kind of like swaying in a breeze. They're a little far away in the painting, so it's a little difficult to tell, but you could swear that it was moving. And there are paintings, smaller ones, of individual flowers, and it almost looks like the petals could come off of the canvas itself. Everything is so incredibly lifelike. And she kind of turns around and she sort of brushes her long train behind her, and she says, "So, we're going to help you get back, but I'm going to need a little bit from each of you in order to do so."
I'm touching a painting.
Which one are you touching? There are like
the one where you see out the balcony view, and you see everything spread beneath you with the trees that are swaying. I'm trying to touch the trees.
Okay, you make your way across and you reach up to touch it, and there's almost like a little bit of like crackliness to touching it, almost like if you shock yourself, like you drag your feet across the floor and you touch something and it zaps you. There's almost a little bit of that, and all you touch is wet paint. That's what it feels like. You come away with a little bit of a green mixture on your finger. Tastes like paint.
Checks out.
So what do you need? Do you need blood or something, or?
I'm just a very tactile, sense-oriented person.
Understandable. She's like watching you. Turns back to Cael, says, "Well, in order to send you back exactly where you left, we have to set the scene. I don't know where or when to send you unless I can see it. So you'll have to tell me. Where did you come in? What did it look like? Where were you all standing? What did the portal look like? Did you use magic to get here?
I believe we used a stream, not a stream, a pond?
Yes, it was a pond in the Lurkwood.
And
She starts grabbing blue paints.
we were riding our flying rugs into it. Cael and Nos on one, and then the three of us on the other.
Actually, I was off the carpet and I was sticking my head in there.
You're right.
She's grabbing green paints because you said the wood. And what do the carpets look like?
Yeah.
The big one is, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like unfurl it. Yeah.
Okay. She looks at them and she starts grabbing more of the different colors that seems to have like pre-mixed and what have you, and begins like taking brushes out, and she's looking around. And where were you standing?
I was
I
riding.
was tied to it.
Wait, what'd you say?
I was tied to the rug.
Ah.
I'll say that
like,
I think
The,
it was figurative, not literal.
No, I was tied to the rug.
he
When
was
we-
actually.
when we came through the portal, it was in the water, right? That's what we had to do. We had to go through the water.
Was it?
That's my group. I'm
Okay.
remembering. Yes, that's what we
There
had
was
to do.
water involved.
Definitely came out of a stream because we summoned a dragon out of it. Or a pond.
To the pool.
Pool.
Was there anything special about the water?
It was a portal to the Feywild.
It was a little bit sparkly. Like magically sparkly, like more sparkly than it ought to. Like the facets of a diamond almost.
Ah, yes. Okay. And so she takes a few brushes out. She's painting with both hands. She's got this long train on the dress, and you see her sort of detach it almost and kind of fold it off to the side to where there's more of like just a sort of simple plain like not like undergarment, but it's like it's just like a plain long dress. It's almost as if this were a part of it that she could take off. And she waves her hands and floats up in the air because this is big and on the wall. And she starts painting, and she's putting down like almost as if it were a top-down view. So there goes down like a green layer, and then she's pointing. So where was the pool?
Right there.
Where are you pointing at?
Right in this
Or in the
the
center?
area that I remember it being in.
Okay. So she like kind of like makes a mark, and then and what shape did it have?
It's a circle.
Oh, it wasn't exactly a circle. It was more like like one of these, like almost a kidney shape, but they had some bloated bits over here on the left.
Okay. And she's like in the tree line.
Up around the top.
On top, okay. And was it enclosed or sort of towards the edge?
I think it was circled, right?
Yeah, it was kind of in a clearing.
So she's like marking where trees would go, and she starts to put like foliage on the trees. She reaches down and grabs a fan brush and is like putting highlights and stuff on those as she's like also painting in this pond. And she reaches down and she grabs like a pinch of something and kind of flicks it at the water, and you see it kind of take on this sheen, and it almost looks like it ripples for a moment and settles. And so you were all, where were you? And so you said you had your head dipped in. That's the moment you
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
was
go back
there
at
with
now?
my ass in the air, essentially.
Perfect. So she grabs the like a little palette, and she starts putting more like a NOS color theme on there, a little bit of red, take away the greens and the blues. She starts painting in where you were, and tied to the carpet. How were you tied to the carpet? She looks at Wampum.
With a rope.
Was it looped around you? Were you...
Wampum reaches over to Lefcardio and grabs the carpet, puts it on the ground, goes over, and sits down where he was. I was
So
right.
it's wrapped... Go ahead.
I was right here.
And the rope went around the bottom and around you like a restraint? I see. So she's like kind of like putting in where the carpet would be, and she like makes a little swirl where you go. And you, and she points at Lefcadio, where were you?
I look at Taslin and Cael. That was like ages ago.
He was.
I believe you were in the front.
Yeah, he was on that carpet with the dwarf, and he was in front.
Did we ride in? Is that what happened? Yeah. Sure, yeah. That's exactly what happened.
It's been so long, I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. So maybe try to remember. And you, and she points at you, Cael, you were on the other one.
Yes.
She points at the small carpet that you'd held up. And you were over here on this side?
Lisa Charity drew the carpets, right?
She drew the big one.
Oh, okay.
Where Wampum said he was.
Yeah. It was kind of near. It was near that.
To the left or the right?
When you say left, you mean stage left?
Stage left. Painting left.
Right.
Right. Okay. She makes like a mark where it is, and she finishes painting in, or she's like working on NOS, so she turns around to Taslin. And where were you?
I was on the back of the one with the dwarf.
Next, in front, askew. She's kind of like hovering the paintbrush over.
Centralized?
There?
Perfect.
So she's finishing in painting NOS. It's like slightly impressionistic style, but you can tell, especially with impressionism, the further away you are, the more it looks like it. So you can definitely tell that that's unmistakably NOS. And so she's cleans off the brushes, and she starts painting everyone else in. Anything else in particular you remember? Anything you were carrying? Any gestures you made at the exact moment you'd like to go back? Were there any rocks in the area? Any creatures, animals? The more you remember, the
Partly cloudy.
Okay. And so she like cleans off one of the brushes, and she goes back and she changes some of the sunlit highlights that she had done on the trees, makes them a little bit more muted, so it doesn't look like it's quite as sunny of a day. Begins painting everyone else in. Was the rest of the details you can remember?
There was some lilies over here. There's definitely a rock kind of off. He's like pointing at different, like it's probably about three feet long, kind of oblong shaped. It was kind of later in the day, so the sun would have been hitting it from over here, and it would have been casting a shadow in that direction, and then I think I remember there. Oh, that was later. No, I'm mixing memories again. That's it. I'm done. I got it. I think you got it.
She
really
starts
good, by the
to. What?
You're really good. I like the details in my ass here, particularly muscular. That is an appropriate representation of reality. Just want to let you know this is very realistic.
I do my best. She's painting in the long shadows or the like longer shadows showing like afternoon. Painting the rocks or like finishing the details on everyone. And it's taking a little bit of time. Like it is a painting. It's kind of like there's obviously like magic going on as she like starts to do stuff, and you can see like the paint spread out places she hasn't touched when she's doing like the backdrop, and she's like painting in a few like individual blades of grass and different stuff. So you just stand there for a few moments while she continues painting.
While we're standing there, I'm going to pull a full bottle of rum out of my pack and kind of just pass it to Cael, not making a big fuss about it or making any wild gestures. It's just very under the table situation.
But there's no table.
It's a figure of speech.
Well, it's because he just takes the bottle and just.
I have a cape and you have a cape. We use capes.
Okay. Yeah, he covertly takes the bottle and then wonders why this needs to be a secret, and then he just kind of pops the cork and like guzzles some rum, and then hands it back, I guess.
I refused it. I was like, "Oh, it's yours."
He just stands there looking like awkward. Just, I don't like. He definitely doesn't want to be holding this.
You put it in your backpack.
He like holds it out to whoever's next to him. He walks over to Wampum and just holds the bottle out to him.
I don't drink that cheap stuff.
Too sweet for you?
Yay.
Makes sense. And he tries to hand it to Taslin.
Taslin looks at it, looks at Cael, looks at it, looks at Cael, looks at it, looks at Cael.
It's poisoned.
I'm still recovering from the last hangover. You know, the one where I may have blinded everyone. I think you were there. I don't really remember much.
So it's a no? You don't want it?
I'll grab it and take a swig. I'll hit it back.
Awesome. I still have this bottle. Kadio, you want?
Fuck! I'll grab it and I will actually walk behind Cael and put it in his pack.
I'm just
And
trying to
I'll
share.
Smack it and be like, "No, you're fine. You're good. I have so much more where that came from. You don't even know. I am a walking bar."
I wonder how much it would cost for us to enchant flasks to have. No, I get ahead of myself.
If you can make me flask have nothing but wampum belly ale, I'll pay out my yin yang for it.
Wampum Belly Ale.
Is that next season of Thunderbelly Ale?
Yes.
It's a special rare brew.
I will try my best.
Okay. How's the painting going? How's that?
She's putting on the like sort of finishing details, and she'll like kind of float back and like look at it and do the like thumb artist thing and float back up, and it's like finishing touches. She grabs a little bit more of that powder and kind of tosses it casually at the water, and you see it like almost ripple again as it starts to take on that sort of shininess that you described to her, adding a bit more shadow.
Would you like some rum? You'll hate it for sure, but it'd be impolite to not offer.
I appreciate the offer. And she turns back to her painting.
That's about how I figured that would go.
And as you're watching it, she's kind of like doing the last little details, like painting in the knots on the rope, tying wampum to the carpet and such. You again see sort of like almost like the canopy of the trees start to sway a little bit in a breeze, and the water almost looks like it's rippling, as if it were moving slightly as water does. And she kind of, well, how does it look? Like you remember?
Better.
Better than what?
than what I remember.
Oh. Well,
But I mean, as far as the positioning of everything goes, it's probably exact.
Like, technically, we were inside of it where you put us, so we
it's
didn't have
hard.
the same. Yeah.
that's fair. Well, she kind of like she puts all of her supplies down. She like rinses her brush off, and she kind of stands back, and you see her start to move her hands, and her eyes close, and it's almost like a breeze starts to kind of blow her hair back off of her shoulders, and she's quietly muttering something to herself. And are any of you painters, like in character?
I think canonly Taslim is really bad at drawing.
Okay. It probably doesn't make any sense what she's necessarily doing for a lot of reasons. She takes a few moments to do something. Her hands stop moving. She opens her eyes. She looks at it. She goes over and kind of lifts it up off the wall, sets it down on the ground, and sort of leans it against the back wall there. Says, well, if your details are correct, then this should be everything you need.
So
Wampa will walk over to the female dwarf, and in Dwarven, he'll say, you better take care of him as if he's at your own home.
She smiles, and in Dwarven, she returns, better than an honored guest.
Aye.
She, like, tips her glass at you and takes a sip.
I be holding you to it. And then Wampum will walk over to the painting and jump in.
Yeah, I was about to ask but is he about to just break this?
Yeah, just shatter.
So, yeah, you see Wampum walks over to it, and he leaps at the painting and bodily enters into it, and the entire painting ripples as if jumping into a pool of water.
Holy shit! Wampum knows what magic is.
I half expected him to
So
break
proud. I'm so proud. Oh.
Well, I suppose he didn't have anything to say for goodbyes, so I already said mine, so I suppose I'll make the next exit. And I'll jump in the van.
Cael reach into his pack, and he's trying to get something out of his bag he's holding. And as he's doing that, he looks at Lafcadio and says, "This, last chance, man. You can come with us if you want. You're absolutely sure that you want to do this."
Yep, and like I said, I'll be right behind you.
Okay. Well, in the event that things don't go perfectly right, you could use a little bit of extra luck, maybe. And he hands him his luck stone.
Well, thanks, mate.
I want it back.
Oh. You get it back.
I hope so. And then, Cael goes in for the hug. Because then he sighs and goes into the painting.
Slim, do you have our money? Does Cael have our money? Who has our money?
I believe Cael has it.
You believe?
Well, I don't have one of them fancy bags.
Okay, all right.
I don't know where I'd keep it.
A fancy bag. Yeah, for sure. Okay, all right. Do you want to say anything? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's just gonna be like a few seconds. We'll be back. There's no reason for a goodbye or anything like that. I'm just gonna see you just in a few moments.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. Take care. No, hop through.
Did you already go, Cael? Okay. I was like, I've been sitting here and now I can't remember who all has gone and who hasn't gone. So, Lafcadio, you watch all of your friends jump into this painting one by one. And she turns to you and says, well, thank you for staying. I will leave you to speak now. And she'll exit and go back out the door that she came in, and the dwarven woman walks up to you and says, are you excited? You should be.
Absolutely. What do we got in store?
Well, a little bit of history about me. I'm actually from the material plane. I was brought here when I was very young. There's a court that we don't really associate with very much. They like to hunt people. But I was rescued. And became quite a quick study. And here I am. So, I wanted to test this theory and see whether I was particularly special or whether or not anyone who came and spent some time studying things here could take on the sort of, I don't know, atmosphere, the magic, the skills that we have. And she takes a moment and she closes her eyes and she puts her arms out, and almost like this like glisten of like light kind of like dances over her, and her eyes are brighter and her skin is like radiant and almost golden, and you just feel this sort of like majestic sort of like aura about her, and she's like this.
Wow. Regardless of whatever my progress is here, it's clear that you are in fact special. So don't allow my success or lack of it to sully whatever it is that you've accomplished, because I am in awe.
Well, that's the appropriate response, thank you. So, your particular method of study, would you be using that? And she points at your instrument.
Yeah, I reckon. Unless you recommend something else. This is, I feel like I'm quite good at it. Folks have paid me to play it. So,
Oh?
I mean, unless,
Well,
like I said, I'm not attached to it. I am merely a student at your feet.
The techniques I will be teaching you don't necessarily have to do with the method by which you might call forth the power, if that makes sense. So it's really up to you. There are a variety of people who could teach you really any oratory or instrumental or dancing. If you would like to dance, I could teach you that. You could paint, although I feel like that would be a bit more difficult in light of what you seem to do. So it's up to you, actually. If you would like to continue your study on that, and she points at your instrument again. I forget what instrument you have. What do you have? A lute, right?
A lute,
yeah. Okay. Then of course, but if you would like to learn something new, then we could do that as well. You don't have to decide right now, if you prefer not to.
Let me tell you this. I feel I'm technically proficient in playing this instrument. But I feel like I don't have the presence to really move a crowd to get everyone into the music, as it were. I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense the way I'm talking about it, but I feel like I'm good at it, but there's certainly an element that I'm missing.
I understand. Very well. Your training will begin at once. And she turns and walks out the door, gesturing for you to follow.
I follow.
So, the rest of you, I would like you all to roll a percentile die. Go ahead and roll it technically with advantage, so roll it twice. You're very good. There were a few things I think that were a little backwards, but it's nice.
30 and a 40.
Okay.
70 and 72.
Nice.
79 and 29.
Mm-hmm. You're muted, Cael.
77 and a 92. Like, yeah, okay. You can.
Okay. So, what ends up happening? You step through this portal, and it's almost like cool water washing over you. And there's a bit of like a stretched feeling that you have. And for a moment, it's almost like you're suspended in a stasis where the position that you took when you stepped through, you can't really move. And it's not pained or anything to you, but you do feel a bit frozen in place. And you watch as Nos dips their head in the water and brings it back out and turns and says something to you and dives in. And you watch the other versions of yourself dive in on these carpets, and then you are almost like released, like from a claw machine, whoop, and you just suddenly tumble to the ground and land in the grass. And when you look up around you, you see the pool and you see the trees around you. It's nighttime, but you're in the same spot that you left for sure.
Wampum kind of pats himself.
Well, I suppose we just wait for Lafcadio?
Yep. Yeah. He should be here in a second.
Can I check and make sure that it's autumn still?
Sure, generally glance around, nature or survival, I suppose.
Both are 0. Okay, here we go. Yeah. 19. And nice.
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 It's pretty easy to tell that you left in the same season. It looks like a later time of the day than what you left, but the season is correct. The temperature in the air, from what you can remember, feels the same. You look around you. As best you can tell, it seems to be, obviously, the place you left, but roughly maybe the right time. Maybe a few hours have passed. Maybe it's off into the night. It's a little hard to say without having like a digital watch or something that recalibrates to a satellite. But nothing strikes you as odd based on what you remember from when you left.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Do I still look like me?
Take a look at yourself. Do you look like you?
I'm gonna grab Taslin and throw him in the water. See?
I land in the water.
Well, I guess make a dex save.
Oh, I do have pretty high dex. Okay.
The water being the portal to the Feywild.
And in Taslin goes. No.
So you are bodily flung at the water. You kind of land in legs first, and you start to feel yourself being pulled into the Feywild, but you're able to grab onto the bank, onto like a rock or something there, and kind of like pull yourself out and roll out of the water, and the bottom half of you is wet. But you weren't sent back into the Feywild by virtue of a good dex save.
Whew. Yeah. Well, that wasn't very nice. And I'll start prestidigitationing my robes to like dry them off.
Wampum walks away giggling.
And Lafcadio, you spend much time studying under the tutelage of this individual and others. You learn a lot of things. Are there any questions that you want to ask specifically? Or anything that you want to, like any pathways you want them to steer you down or anything that you want to talk about right now? Or can you think of anything?
When Well, I am generally going to be an open book and as receptive as possible and as diligent a student as I can be. If there is extra time that I am not engaged in study or tasks, I would try to find out what the tie-in between the whatever was happening in the tree or what the druids were doing and what our party is engaged in and how those things intertwine and whatever information I can get from that and how if it can be leveraged to help us or help them, etc.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, you have ample downtime. It's almost like going to university, but nobody's expecting you really to work. They're there to. It's like an experiment on you almost. You don't feel necessarily too poked and prodded at, but every time you have a lesson, there are people watching and taking notes. No one seems to be grading you in any way. It's very like lab ratish almost, as they're like measuring your progress and such. But once the lessons are over for the day, you have downtime. So who would you go to ask about such things?
I guess I would try to ingratiate myself to Cael's mother and just get to know her.
Okay. Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
I will use a viewer inspiration to grant myself advantage on this. 20.
Ooh, nice. Okay, you were able to. So initially, when you start asking about it, everyone's kind of like, this was a sort of a one-time deal. You're here because you got to go in there. This isn't something we usually do. But you're able to kind of talk your way in. I've been in once. It's, like, what could it do or whatever. And she does spend most of her time in there. When she leaves, there does seem to be almost like barracks. And as you go in and out throughout the course of the time that you're there, you learn that those sets of doors to the side, 4 of them lead to what essentially are guard barracks. The different people that are guarding, the color associations seem to correspond to the 7 courts that are considered to be here in the city, or like there are representations of them. Not all of them are necessarily like housed here. Maybe they come in and visit, et cetera, et cetera. And each color scheme corresponds to those. And 2 of those doorways lead to less barracky, more like long-term living quarters for people who have individual rooms, sort of things. And there is also housed within those walls, there is like a central meeting chamber where the courts come together and make decisions. So your questions to her were, what do you think the connections are, and like basically what information can you tell me that might be helpful, correct?
Right, and if I can piece anything together to be helpful to them based on what information I know.
So, so they know for sure, at least like the information that's been passed down or whatever from the original creators, is that this barrier, at the very least, went to the Underdark. Recently, they've noticed that the magic has seemed to change and fade and distort a bit, and they were worried that someone from the Underdark was trying to come through. There were like battles fought here before in the central structure that you all noticed very straightforwardly was like human architecture. She explains that they studied human architecture since in the Feywild there's not usually citadel type structures like this, but they found that humans tended to build these very defensible sort of like fort structures, and they sort of mimicked these buildings after that because this was originally, the city didn't exist, and this was just built to protect this entryway, basically, after they were able to kind of like drive back these forces in ancient times and what have you. Not ancient, but a long time ago. And after the seal was created, they built the citadel, and the city kind of like sprang up slowly after there, and now it's this sort of like grand city that you see in front of you, but that's why it's so heavily guarded and there's so many wards and things like that, just like scattered throughout the city, but especially in the central location. And what first brought their attention to the changing and the magic was that there was like decay of the land within that area. And you all noticed when you went in that there were plants there, but they seemed kind of almost dried up, like Texas drought style, where it's a little brown and like dry and crispy, but still alive. And those were almost essentially dead when someone started sort of surveying and seeing what was going on, and they could like feel the change in it. So they called forth people from each of the courts and a few strays that are like known to be powerful people, and they brought them in to sort of commune with the ground, figure out what's going on, like try to cleanse the land. There are some more arcane people among them that were studying the like change in the magic and what's happening. And after the decay, there was one sighting of sort of like like a dark presence sort of emanating out the sides of it that they were able to, with restoring the land, sort of like it hasn't come back. Maybe they drove it away, maybe they suppressed it, they're not really sure. And that's why when you explained everything going on with Shar, it seemed to them like maybe something is connected, because this has been a recent thing. She's been here for a long time studying it, but it was more of like a passive thing because these events have been very recent, and that's when other people were called in to help. So with that knowledge, go ahead and make, do you think like investigation, history, what do you think avenue you would pursue to try to piece information together to try to help them?
Investigation seems like inductive type of, or reasoning type stuff. So, sure.
Okay.
That is a 17.
Nice. So thinking about all of it, one of the things that comes to mind is, restoring the land might be helping. It's difficult to say, but you know for certain that the sort of power that Cael possesses with the connection to the light has been instrumental on a couple of occasions at sort of like pushing back that type of darkness. So you're able to impart to them the sort of experiences you've had where you have like firsthand accounts seen something combat this so that they can prep for the future. Maybe if they start implementing more like light in the area, that might help prevent there from being an issue. And you hope, it seems like that would be a reasonable thing to suggest that would be helpful to them, that they didn't seem to be employing, because it was very dimly lit in there. There was a roof, there were no windows, sort of thing. So that might be something that would be helpful to them.
Very good. Well, and then I guess if there is even more time, then I will fill in the rest of the time sharing Cael's exploits with his mother, so that because I don't know that she's watching him from afar. I just want to make sure that she knows all the things that I know about him.
Okay. So you spend spare time doing that. It's easy enough to do in conversations. She seems to maybe not be glad for your company, but definitely is like amicable and like receives you warmly each time you come calling, or you meet for coffee. I'm kidding. Like whatever circumstances it is that you have your conversations. Go ahead and make an insight check for me. And since you're going to be spending so much time with her, go ahead and make it with advantage.
Okie doke. That is a 19.
19. You are able to glean that she feels she's like burdened with responsibility. She is generally seemingly like a kindish person. She does have this sort of like not quick to anger necessarily, but there's a hidden ferocity under her like placid general like aura. And on occasion, like you might enter in when she's by herself in there studying, where there's other people around, but they're not in this sort of like commune, all working together sort of scenario, where she's kind of like pacing and seems to be really easily agitated. And so over time, you kind of see what she was talking about. She'll tell you a little bit about, as you tell her about Cael, she explains that there is a court called the Moon Court, and they're very in tune with that sort of more bestial nature, and they hunt for sport, but they don't hunt animals, they hunt intelligent creatures. And part of the reason why she left is she realized that that wasn't something that was a good environment for like a child, but also just like giving life to something led her to understand the value of life in a different way. And that's part of the reason why she left, but she still kind of has that sort of like inner ferocity to her. And so when you're telling stories about the exploits that you've all had together and the grand things that you've all done and that Cael has done and you've all like taken part in, you can see like pride, and then there's sorrow. And when the parts of the story where you're talking about like a great battle happen, you can kind of see that sort of like white-knuckled like edge of the seat, sort of like she might like snarl periodically as she gets like really interested in the story that you're telling, and it's sort of like tapping into that that sort of like warrior huntress sort of side of her. But all in all, what you come away with is that there's a lot of burden on her, a lot of responsibility, a lot of like pain, but she does seem to be very proud of all the things that you tell her about, everything that you all and that Cael have done. You all have done, and that Cael has done. Words are hard.
And I know that they separated when he was still quite young, but I reckon it's possible that some of her habits or some of her mannerisms I might be able to recognize in Cael. Is there anything like that, or is everything that I know of Cael strictly from other influences that weren't his mother?
Ooh. This requires me making like insight into Cael's character through the lens of your eyes and trying to make sure that it's accurate. I would say that when you are witnessing her more sort of ferocious, bestial moments where she's like pacing around and she looks like a wolf stalking her prey when she's in there like studying this thing and concentrating on trying to fix it and stuff like that. And if she interacts with someone else and you kind of see that closed offness, that otherwise you'd see her being like kind and interacting with people normally, there are times when that sort of flat-toned, not necessarily sarcastic, but that sort of like flat-toned, barriered self might emerge, if that makes sense. Like you know that Cael sometimes, like whatever it might be that he's actually thinking or feeling is hard to say, but he's very straight man. And when she's kind of like fighting back that side of herself, there is that little bit of that that goes on. And other than that, there aren't any individual mannerisms that that stand out to you. But that tendency to kind of close oneself off when their true self is like threatening to be revealed, if that makes sense. With that insight check. Cool. All right. I want you to go ahead. Is there anything else you want to do with your time here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Go ahead and make me 2 percentile rolls then. Sorry, I know you have to like type it in, or there's those like things on the left side where you can click on the dice and roll them there, but okay.
Is this for traveling back or is this for something else?
For traveling back.
Well, if I'm rolling to travel back, then I won't. I will pull out the 11-leaf clover that
Ooh.
I found, and I will use that, the power in it, to get the roll that I want.
Okay. All right. That works. So the rest of you have you've tumbled out. You've almost been sucked back in. You have had a few moments to look around no Lafcadio just yet. And just about the time the anxiety starts to sit in, there's almost like a ripple in the sky above you. And it is nighttime, so you can see the stars. And that's kind of what clues you in, is there's like this rippling among the light. And Lafcadio comes out. And instead of landing kind of like, he just kind of like cat-like lands on his feet. Here, superhero landing. And you're all together.
Slim! You okay? What happened? They hurt you?
You'll see that he's probably a little bit thinner than you left him, because he was nervous about eating food because Cael kept on telling him not to eat the food. So he's I mean, he couldn't fast for a year, but he's a lot thinner than he was. How long was I gone for?
Run over to him, give him a big old hug, and give him like lock him in a headlock, give him a big old nuggie. And like, just like a couple minutes, several minutes, enough to worry, not enough to start worrying, but not long enough to actually be worried. I think. Does that make sense?
On my side, it was just a few dreams, and 3 revelations.
That makes absolutely zero sense to me. That is not a measurement of time.
That's how long it took.
Well, it's good to have you back.
Yes, I'm glad they stuck to their word on that one. What'd you learn? What were these revelations?
Those are quite personal, Cael.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe there was like a technique they taught you or something. That...
Oh, well, I'm happy to perform for you if that's what you'd like.
I want to see it.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right, well, then it's like a Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. At the very end, when they come back, and they spend a year in band camp, and then they play.
Yeah.
Kiss.
Do you want to make a? Do you want to make a performance check for them, or not performance? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do a performance, and again, I will use my last viewer inspiration, because if this is bad, that's really embarrassing. So you can't have it be bad.
Well, don't you use instrument instead of performance, right? Or, well, that's fine. 24.
24. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Lafcadio, how do you like sit down on the ground, or do you stand to play? Set the scene for us with how you show them what you've learned.
So I'll use the lute not to play a song, but more as a minor accompaniment for emphasis, and I'll recite an epic of just the time I've spent there. I've probably been working on it for the time I was there, so I could catch everyone up with all the things that I did.
So it's an epic tale telling of your exploits while in the Feywild?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Exploits.
Nice.
I mean, college, but yes.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah. So everyone go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Six.
17, because I don't have my rock anymore.
25.
Sam Wampum? You muted. 22? I think I heard 22.
22.
Or heard 22. Saw 22. I took the observant feed. I can read lips. No, not really. So Lafcadio begins to play. And he's telling you this sort of like epic story of the things that he encountered while he was there. And you've all seen him play before. as he's mentioned in the past, he's technically proficient, very clean player. But there's something about music that can be disconnected for someone who's a technically good player and who hasn't really learned to embrace the aspect of music that is a connection between the performer and the audience, how to engage people and how to tell a story in a way that they all feel as if they're a part of it or that they are connected to it in some way, despite this being something that is usually removed from them. And while you might have been moved by performances before because they were still very pretty or very somber or they struck close to home, there's something about this performance that feels different. Even Nas, you're probably a little overtaken by like the general like emotions that you've had recently to be paying as like close, keenly-eyed attention to it, but it still feels different to you. And for everyone else with your roles, it's like you can feel the heart that's in it now, whereas before it was a technical performance, and now there's a little bit more to it. And Tazlin, you can almost feel the sort of like arcane presence accompanying this performance that you've never encountered prior to this with Lefcadio performing. Like, as if there's a little bit more magic to it now than there ever was in the past.
So what you're saying, it was a magical performance.
It was a magical performance, yes. For sure.
Not bad.
Yes, that was much better.
I wonder if that'll hurt Shar.
I guess we'll find out.
Sing
Next
at her.
time on Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, what'd you say?
Then we'll just sing at her.
Yeah.
Done deal.
I mean, some worlds are created through song, so you never know. I think that's a good place to wrap it up for today. Just maybe a few minutes early, but we went over last time, so we're gonna call it even there. Yeah. Thanks for playing, everyone. That was amazing.
Thanks,
I loved
Rose.
it.
Yeah.
So we'll do our exit stuff. Hi, I'm Katie Quixotic. You can find me pretty much everywhere as Katie Quixotic, except I'm mostly on Twitter and Twitch. I do a lot of D&D all around. If you want to know where I'm at, you just follow my Twitter. You'll find me. I'll tweet about it. And then we'll go around like we always do.
Hi, I'm Carl, and I play Lefcadio Whitehorn. You can find me here at this time when we play this game weekly. You can also find me Fridays playing with Casey on Savric's channel, twitch.tv/Savric, where we are playing a Planescape game and we're in Sigil and crazy stuffs. I would say that I particularly enjoyed this session's interjections by Nos, who had to both sniff the goings-ons and touch the painting as soon as it was described. I see it very cartoony in my brain, those things happening, and they're delightful.
I don't know what it says about me, but I am best when in the background. Thank you.
And I'll pass it over to Vinny.
I'm Vinny, played Cael the cleric. I exist on social media, but I only use it when I've been drinking a lot, so don't count on seeing a lot from me. I'm sure my Twitter's somewhere. It's under my name over there. I see it. Anyway, I don't have a favorite moment from today. Just Katie, I think you did you had to do a lot. You had to be in a lot of different headspaces. More so than I think usual, and I think you handled it really well. And then it's Casey's turn.
Hi, I'm Casey. Like you don't know. Casey H on social media. I have been your champion of Time War, Impaler of Plains, Heckler of Big Fire Chickens, She Who Fights Storm, Slayer of Shadows, Nos, the boss, and Neverwinter. Womp womp womp. You can, like Carl said, you can find me over on Savage Channel on Friday. Thank you. On Friday nights. I think it's 8 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. CST. Doing the Planescapes. And by the way, I am playing a human Horizon Walker in Sigil, so that's neat. That's been very neat. Favorite parts include I got 4 of them, but I don't want to take all of them, so I'm just going to name 2. The premature goodbyes were pretty funny to me. I like how both of the fighter types were the ones to do that. Well, actually, Tazlin did it like even way before that.
I said my goodbye right when they suggested. I was like, "Goodbye, you little shit."
Yeah, basically. But yeah, the unsmoothness of that is very uncanny D&D to me, because it never goes the way you think it's gonna go. And then also Lofcadio telling Sariel about Cael and stuff, and getting all of that extra depth about the characters and stuff. I had like a little mind movie going on in my head, and it was all very sweet, and I had like the fuzzy corners, Yeah, that's me. Moving along to John.
Hey guys, I'm John. I am the dwarf from Marabar, master of the axe, enemy of the drought, traveler of the plains, destroyer of shadow, deliverer of certain death. I am the Wampum Thunderbelly of the Saladar. What I guess my favorite thing was when Lefcardio decided that he was just going to sit down in the circle. I mean, he had no business being there. He had no idea what the hell was going on, but he decided, well, what the hell? I'll join the party. That was pretty cool. What you think, Graham?
Oh boy, I think a lot of things. My name is Graham, or Graham Crackers on Twitch. You can find me here every Saturday from a time to a time. And you can also find me on Fridays occasionally on other channels. I like to guest appearance, but I won't tell you where. You just have to find me. Then... Oh, I play Tazlin Ebrio, your Shatterkai wizard and taxi service, and occasional best friend. My favorite part today was probably Cael having those zinger, angry responses to his mom, because I've been waiting for those since, like, episode 5 a year ago, when we first scryed her, and I was just like, yes! I was getting pretty pumped. So that was definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, and I always go last because it takes me a while to think. And I think that my favorite part, or my favorite thing, was the lack of resolution. Like, after all that time, just going and saying hi and asking for answers doesn't usually result to a positive outcome. And I'm not glad it didn't, but I feel like that's true to how it would happen. And I think I enjoyed trying to answer Cael's questions, and I loved the attitude during that conversation. I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, yeah, no, this is good. This feels like how it would probably actually be. So that's my favorite part. Do we have a raid?
It looks like the Greyhawk channel is the only channel that I'm familiar with who's playing D&D right now. So I think we will give them and their ilk a raid on their Dreadwood Fairy Tales show. So stay tuned, and we will be there directly.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everyone.
Thanks for the raid.
Bye.
Yeah.